of the West Coast. He's learned the vertical numbers offense. He's learned the zone blocking scheme. He knows them all. You could just go anywhere and go, hey, no, I've done that one too. I know all these different offenses. I've done them all in my career because look at that. Think in the last 5 years, I think we've seen every different base style of offense debut in the Browns playbook before the next one took over.
You're absolutely right. He could, pick up. He just go back to his locker and pick out the notebook that. Whichever one you're running, I got it. We've done it.
I got it. We've done. That's why he was so good at the zone blocking because he's like, look, man, we just block people. We just put somebody in front of us, man. The rest of you guys go do what you want. We just block whoever's in front of us, man.
That's right. I got to go back. I was 3 coaches ago, but I still got my notes. Let me go back and get that together.
And you know what? I like the zone blocking. That is the thing, is that I would hope, regardless what you may change in the passing game and stuff, I did think that we saw in the early part of this season, the zone blocking was effective and we were able to run the ball. We know what happened with Mac, but I did like that. So I would hope that whether Shanahan stays or goes, hopefully that's an aspect that he brought in that the Browns continue to adopt and adapt their offensive line to, because it seemed to fit the personnel. Well, when you had Mac quarterback in the thing, it seemed to fit the personnel pretty well.
Yeah, and they drafted running backs and acquired running backs with that in mind as well, in Terrence West and Isaiah Crowell. So those two running backs obviously were, in their minds, well suited to that scheme, and I think they were right about that. And I think those guys both had some success coming down the stretch. Both rookies, and you've got to figure that they're both going to be that much better next year when they come in with a year of experience under their belt.
And just my thought, I mentioned earlier about the backs, and when you look at the offense and how it degenerated as things went, and I really do put a lot of that to attrition as things went on. Not all of it at all, but I do put some of it there to that. There's no way you could take that away. And I wonder if the lack of just total use in the second half of the season of the backs in the passing game was because you needed them in max protect a lot of times too. Now, if they were just floating out there aimlessly, I'd have to go back and watch footage of all these games, but then we have an issue here. But I wonder how much of that was a factor of needing to include them in the blocking scheme because you had all the issues that we know throughout the second half of the season.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and there was a lot of jailbreak pass protection emergency stuff going on the last half of the season, and I think West maybe more than Crowell I thought did a pretty good job on that on pass protection. It's something that rookie backs typically aren't good at, and it takes some time to get good at it in the NFL because the guys coming at you are half again your size and in a bad mood. So it's tough for any running back in the NFL to pick up blitzers and block that way just because of the athletes you got coming up in your face.
For sure. Lord knows we got plenty of time to talk about the Browns here. Speaking of guys, college to pros and that stuff, our boy famous Jameis coming to the NFL. No big surprise there. I was joking with some people before the show. I said, hey, he can't take the chance, man. He's got to go to the NFL while he can because another year down there in that college environment, hey, man, he may not get out for 20 years, man. So he needs to get to the NFL as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's right. The Tallahassee Police Department can only do so much to protect him, and maybe one more year that they might have their resources stretched to the max to get him out of trouble, constantly. So yeah, he better get out while the getting's good without any warrants and ATVs about on him. But yeah, so it was good to see that, and I noticed that Phil Steele has a good list up today of the early declare draft guys. A lot of good wide receivers coming out. Jalen Strong from Arizona State, Sammy Coates from Auburn. The kid from Houston, Dante Greenberry, coming out. So there's lots of good guys. Stephon Diggs from Maryland is going pro. Devin Funchess, Michigan kid. So lots and lots of good wideouts. Dorial Green Beckham too, coming out of Oklahoma. So. That is really what strikes me as the biggest group of real talents coming out early would be that wide receiver class. But a good listing of them at philsteele.com if you want to go check that out.
Yeah, he's always good with that stuff as well, too, because that's going to be a key, obviously, a place of need there. And hopefully that position is deep once again here this year, and the Browns don't let them all slip through their fingers this year and address that position for sure. But segueing over to college, obviously, we're talking some Buckeyes and some Ducks as we get closer here, just a few days away at the weekend and a wake up, and then bam, playing a national title game. I saw the Plain Dealer, those guys really, they have a good crew of guys that cover the Buckeyes, no matter what I think about some of their tactics or whatnot. And, Doug LeMarie, good breakdown here of the two offenses. And obviously they're both two high-powered, boom, spread them out kind of offenses. The difference to me between the two, and this was kind of brought up in this article talking to Urban Meyer, how the thing that worried him about going years ago when he decided to move his offense in that direction was the risk that any coach knows that they're dealing with 3 and out. And then boom, next thing you know, you took no time off the clock and you're giving the ball right back to these good teams that you're playing. And that's the risk that comes with that. I like Ohio State's ability to stop and start, and if they need to slow it down, they can. When they want to speed it up, they can. I actually think that is a more effective. I like that more than just the nonstop pedal to the metal type deal, because I think as long as you can substitute and stay fresh, you can stay with that as long as you're fresh enough to keep up with them. I kind of like being able to slow down, pound a little bit or whatever, and then pick it back up, because that's so much harder to me for a defense to get up and down, slow up, speed. You know what I mean? All of that, it's a much different pace than just go, 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 because then you can just go, go, go. Plus, Ohio State has the athletes that can go, go, go. So I like that. What do you think about that comparison there and things like that?
Well, I went back and revisited the game 5 years ago, first of all, because some of the same things are being said about this year's game, about the speed of the Oregon Ducks and the pace and the tempo that they run and how they're going to wear them. Now, first of all, we've already seen, and I've commented here, about how well-conditioned this Buckeye team is and how you see that on the field late in games. Certainly the Wisconsin game, and I think to a degree in the Alabama game, the Buckeyes, showed well in terms of their conditioning. The game plan was a little bit different 5 years ago because it was Jim Tressel, not Urban Meyer. Jim Tressel didn't score a lot, and they scored slowly. It was remarkable in that game, and really the way that they won that game was by controlling the ball and controlling the time of possession. And it was ridiculous. I went back and looked at it. Ohio State controlled the ball. Time of possession was 41 minutes to 18 minutes. 41 and some seconds versus 18 and some seconds for Oregon in that game. Just an amazing domination of time of possession. That doesn't happen with this year's Buckeye team because they score quickly. Oregon is something like 110th out of 120-some schools in time of possession. And that's what they're going for. In other words, that's not a negative statistic for them. They don't care about that. They want to score a bunch of points, and they're going to do it in a hurry. I don't know how much effect that'll really have. Like you say, both teams are speed up, and the other Buckeyes can slow it down. They do it a lot more than Oregon does, where they'll come to the line, they'll be in no huddle, but they'll use a good portion of the play clock before they snap the ball, because they'll look to the sidelines once, sometimes twice, before they'll take the snap, and with Tom Herman making some adjustments, and you've got to just say, if it ain't broke, Buckeyes don't fix it, because things have been working, and the adjustments that Herman has made, whether he's, just the example being the 85-yard run by Elliott, where they, right from the start of the game, they took the ball, tried to push the perimeter a little bit, and make Alabama defend the whole width of the field. But it was late in the game, and they called that play to Elliott. That was the only time, really, that they had gone with that, outside the zone kind of running play. And obviously it worked, and Herman saw something, and they had a couple of the key Alabama defenders off the field at the time. Ragland was out, and so was Landon Collins, just getting nicked up, and they happened to be absent. That's what a lot of the Alabama people are kind of crying in their beer about after the game, that on the big play of the game, they had two of their best defenders on the sidelines. But, hey, that's the way it goes. But anyway, I just think, the Buckeyes' flexibility on offense may be an advantage, but both teams, they're so similar. They work with each other. They learn from each other. They're close as far as the coaching staffs go. And more similarities than differences, I think, on that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things. Last night, the game that I covered, both coaches, it was funny. They made a similar remark in my pregame interviews with them, just chit-chatting, and it applies here too. And they say, hey, we practice against it every day. So we're not – some teams come in, they're completely surprised by the speed. Like you said about Alabama before, by the size, different things like that. But we practice against it. And both of these teams can say that, hey, we're practicing that pace every day. We're right there with it. We're not going to be caught by surprise or caught out of our element there. And the same thing I think could be said too. Not every team practices, and obviously there's been different levels of it with the various quarterbacks for Ohio State, but they've practiced against the dual threat type quarterbacks, and you've had that a part of your daily exposure, well, maybe until the recent history of this season, but you know what I'm saying. So the Buckeyes defense has been exposed to a lot of the things they're going to see. Now, that being said, Mariota is a very good quarterback. Obviously, he's got a chance to go out there and show you, hey, I am what I say I am. Can he do it? I don't know. But the Buckeyes will be coming into this game, unlike some teams that play the Ducks, where they're well aware and used to what they're going to get for the most part in all aspects of the game.
Yeah, that is true. There's not going to be a lot of surprises. And I think really what it will come down to is, can Oregon, defend the Ohio State offense as well as the OSU defense plays? I mean, I think Ohio State has a chance to slow them down and limit what they can do. I'm not so sure that Oregon is going to be able to mount a defense is going to be able to stifle the Buckeye offense. I just think they're going to have a lot more problems on defense than the Buckeyes will. The difference between the two, I think, is Meyer is all about structuring things so that Cardale Jones is a cog in a machine, that he's doing his job, not trying to do too much, stay within the plan and execute the plays that are called. On the other side of the ball, when the Oregon offense has the ball, it's all about improvisation by Mariota. I shouldn't say it's all about that, but that's a phase of their offense, a factor in their offense that really the Ohio State team doesn't have. Yeah, Cardale can scramble a little bit and he can run, he can hurt you running, but Mariota is an improviser and a guy who kills you with his improvisation and really can hurt you down the field deep and with his legs and with his arms. So to me, that's the biggest difference, that you've got more of a structured thing for Ohio State and a little bit more wide open thing with Mariota, because when things go bad, they sometimes turn out very good. And, that's, I think maybe the biggest difference as you look at how the two offenses work.
Man, this is going to be a hell of a football game. I'm sitting here getting myself all fired up just talking about it. Like, man, we still got a couple more days to go before we get to this. When we talk on Monday, we'll really put the kibosh on the preview and get everybody all primed up for that. I cannot wait for the national title game. But this is not just, yay, go Buckeyes or any of that. This is going to be a good football game right here, and I am very interested. This is truly, to me, one of those that you go, hey, man, I want to see how this thing plays out. If it plays the way I think it will, I think Ohio State takes care of business, and we don't have to predict anything today. But it's going to be a good football game either way. You can just feel it. Both of these teams coming in ready for this thing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to a great game. One of the other similarities is, I don't know if you've read much about Oregon, how they, you might have heard that Ohio State's going to be playing their third-string quarterback in this game. That might have come out. You might have seen a story or two about that. But what maybe you haven't heard about is Oregon, how they've, undergone some unbelievable injuries. Their best cornerback, their best offensive lineman, their best wide receiver, their best tight end, all these guys are out for the season. So talking about, overcoming injuries and overcoming adversity, I think the Ducks take a backseat to no one on that score. They've had starters dropping like flies from summer camp on through the season, and so they're down a pint too in terms of just their talent level that they're going to put out there. But yeah, looking forward to a great season. The other thing I want to mention, I'm not sure if I recall if I mentioned it Monday or not, about how the football playoff people have kind of stand to maybe mess up something that's working out great this year with the dates these games are played. It worked out great this year because New Year's Day, you had a great lineup of games even leading up to the two semifinals. I don't know if you know this, but I didn't really remember it, although I heard it at the outset. But the next 2 years, these semifinal games are not going to be played on New Year's Day. They're going to be played on New Year's Eve.
Really?
Yeah, next year, of course, they rotate the semifinals from the different bowls. And so this year was the Rose and the